So what is the goal of anger? Really, in the most raw way, is typically to extinguish another human being. Meaning at a primate level, we're out to harm. We're out to kill. At a human level, most of us can restrain that. Not enough people can restrain it because there's murders every day. But the capacity to take the claws out and go after another human being, if you want to stay on the right side of the law, you only do that verbally. You don't do it with your hands. But it's there. And sometimes people get so angry, and when they understand that the motivation is truly to destroy another human being in its most raw form, we're acculturated not to, most of us, to use our hands, and therefore we get away with it. But what you don't get away from is the toxin in the depth of the soul, the Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara says, if people go over a certain line with me, the killer within gets to come out. I'm not going to go to jail. I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to use my hands, but I'll use all the words that I can find. Okay? Now, I see this at least every week when I counsel people, is the killer within gets out, stays inside of words, and the person says, but I didn't hit, and they deserved it, and I have my reasons. So with every single one of them, if you do a daily scan of anger, resentment, unproductive grief, despair, nihilism, guilt, irrational obligation, shame, fear, anxiety, envy, and desire. And it's not so much, what I would call the repressive muscle of not, although that's important, is the deeper work of what's its story, what's it made of, what's its goal, what's its motivation, and getting to know each of them very, very deeply. Right? So part of what I mean when I say a person of truth, modeh al ha-emet, a big part of what it means to speak truth with myself is exactly this, is expose the workings of my Yetzer Hara to my higher self and ask them hard questions. So I'll give just a couple of examples, and I'll take any other questions. I oftentimes in counseling and teaching, I have people ask themselves the following question and the other person the following question, which is, in a given interaction between people, I say, what's your goal? And I'll give you a very common example between people, spouses and parents and children. A person is either accusing somebody, blaming somebody, or wants somebody to do something, point out something wrong with them. And the person responds. And I say, what's your goal? And they say, well, I have to respond. I say, what's your goal? They say, to prove them wrong. To prove them wrong. Okay? Now, I want to look very deeply at that for a moment. To prove another person wrong, first of all, puts you on the defense. I say, what do you care what they think? They're crazy right now. They're not making any sense. They're irrational. They've gone to their crazy place. Why would you care if you've convinced their crazy place? Next thing they almost always say is, I'm not a doormat. People say things to me, I have to respond. Okay? Now we've gotten to something deeper. That if I'm ever attacked, I have to fight back, partly because I want to persuade them that they're wrong, and secondly, I have to defend myself. The city's under attack. So we look deeply into the urge to defend. And I say, what's the worst thing that will happen if you say nothing? They'll think they're right. And then what will happen? Well, let's do it again. I say, okay, when you defend, do they do it again? Yes. So explain to me how your defending makes things better. Because they always do it again no matter what. Right? And the person is kind of lost. Now, why is that? Now, remember, I asked 5 questions. Not that I'm so smart, I'm just trained and experienced. I asked 5 questions, and the person is lost. They have no idea, because they know it's not efficacious. They know it produces no good. They never persuade anybody. It just escalates. It gets awful, and they do it over and over and over again. And I say, it's your Yetzer Hara. Say shalom, be